So after that second phrase, straight to 41.
Opening 8 bars with repeat, next 8 bars no repeat, last 8 bars. If you need more, keep doing last 8 bars.
If I get lost, somebody just yell out a number.
Here's the
Good morning, class of 2021. I am so grateful to be with you here today, even in these less than ideal circumstances. But in the spirit of Meliora, we always strive to make any situation ever better. Unfortunately, because of COVID guidelines, we weren't able to allow guests on campus for your special day. I know this is a big disappointment for you and your families. It's also a disappointment for me. In my 2 years as president, I've yet to preside over a traditional University of Rochester commencement. But I'm actually delighted we are able to bring you, your professors, and university administrators together to celebrate this very special occasion. So with your families and friends in mind, I'd like to ask all 2021 graduates to stand and honor your families and friends who are watching online. Please, let's give the people who supported you throughout your education a round of applause. We know how important their support has been on this journey, and even though we couldn't have them here today, they are definitely watching us on Zoom, and they're with us in spirit. You know, there is something extra special about today that I hope you will come to appreciate over time, even if not right now. This unique commencement day can serve as a useful reminder of what you've overcome. As you depart this campus and embark on your careers and live your lives, whenever you think about this day, it should remind you how adaptable, resilient, patient, and creative you can be. And you should remember that during a year of great turmoil, you rose so successfully to the occasion. When the global pandemic forced us all to quarantine, curb our natural interactions, adopt social distancing and mask wearing, you adapted by figuring out how to take classes and study online. When COVID severely restricted our mobility globally, nationally, and even on our campus, you showed creativity by using technology to shop and stay connected with family and friends. And when circumstances challenged your ability to complete coursework and research, you demonstrated patience and resilience. You dug deep, found inner resources you probably didn't know you had. Over these final 3 semesters, you have endured historic challenges. You've harnessed that adversity for fuel and you overcome, and here you are, graduating, and I would claim stronger for it. As a psychologist, I should tell you that there's a lot of research on how adversity can actually be helpful to people and help them mine their inner reserves and face their problems and emerge having discovered new abilities. It's kind of a transformation or positive change you gain from struggling with a major life crisis. Perhaps you've already noticed some of those beneficial effects, like a greater appreciation of your close relationships, an awareness of new possibilities, increased personal strength, and a greater appreciation for life. Another way to think of it is if you can survive all this and still graduate, you can do anything. That's no exaggeration. Many of you probably know other students here and at other universities who had to pause their studies or who dropped out altogether. You didn't do that. The University of Rochester class of 2021 figured out what you needed to do, how you needed to do it, and you got it done. You should take great pride in this. You've proven to yourself how adaptable you are. That kind of experience should endow you with the kind of confidence that leads to seismic advances in science, culture, and governance to make the world an ever better place. As graduates of the University of Rochester School of Medicine and Dentistry, you've chosen a life dedicated to saving and improving the quality of lives, whether that's administering life-saving treatment, conducting vital research, or campaigning for social justice. You carry your unique life experience, the enduring wisdom of this university, and the guiding light of our Meliora ideals. We all experience adversity in different ways, And as you face the many obstacles that lay ahead on your life journey, I'm supremely confident that you all have everything you need to thrive. You flourished at the University of Rochester. You flourished during a global pandemic. And with your newfound strength, capabilities, and resolve gained from this year of COVID, I'm very confident you will flourish in life. Thank you and congratulations, class of 2021.
I begin with congratulations to our graduating students and their families and friends who are viewing today's event. Graduation is the most exciting event of the academic year. Your academic journey required the love and support from your family and friends, and in many cases, sacrifice on the part of your parents, spouses, and children. All of the deans and faculty of the School of Medicine and Dentistry want to give them special recognition. We are disappointed that you cannot share this event in person with your loved ones. Your graduation is the culmination of years of hard work, reaching from elementary school to college and through medical school. The hard work is far from over. However, this is a day to relax and celebrate your achievements. Savor this. All of you have something wonderful to look forward to. Medicine is a career that provides unusual flexibility. Academic medicine in particular offers the ability to change one's focus and reinvent oneself many times over. Little could I have imagined when I graduated from medical school 43 years ago that I would be standing before you as the dean, let alone at this wonderful Eastman Theatre. In the past, I have focused my graduation remarks on the need to transform the healthcare system and the important role that you, as our newest and best educated physicians, would play in that transformation. However, this is a special year, and it has brought new attention to the calling we accept as physicians and healthcare providers. Too often in recent years, we have been challenged with the concept that smart devices will be able to replace much of what we do related to diagnosis and management of common problems, or that Amazon will be able to provide health care quicker and at lower cost. But it has taken a small microorganism to bring into focus what really makes the practice of medicine so special. Today you will be taking the Hippocratic Oath, promising to always put the patient first. The world has now seen, perhaps for the first time in a long time, what that really means. It means teams of physicians from the University of Rochester going to Long Island to help Northwell Health deal with an unimaginable number of critically ill patients. It means retired physicians, many of whom were at higher risk groups, returning in droves, putting their own lives at risk to help save others. It meant doctors and nurses providing psychological support to critically ill patients unable to be visited by their families and loved ones. And it meant researchers coming to work to get a better understanding of and to develop new approaches to treat COVID-19. We have also watched how quickly we have been able to adapt to an unprecedented situation. The transition to online learning went seamlessly, not only at the medical center, but throughout our university. Within a few weeks, we transitioned from 20 telemedicine outpatient visits a day to close to 6,500. We transformed our hospitals and outpatient clinics to be able to safely take care of large numbers of COVID-19 positive patients. And every day, we redefined the concept of teamwork. We broke down our silos and approached this disease as a united family of healthcare workers and students, all focused on the best approaches to treat this illness. Perhaps for the first time in a while, people have a much greater appreciation of what the calling of medicine really is and why we cannot replace doctors, nurses, or other healthcare providers with smartphones. Moreover, there may be a better understanding that the health of our economy and the economic well-being of the world is dramatically linked to health, not just because of the cost of healthcare, which has been a focus for many years, but also because of what happens when our health is compromised. Medical science has made huge advances in treating and curing disease and continues to do so at a dizzying pace. 100 years ago, the life expectancy in the United States was 55. Today it is 79. And the quality of life among the older population has also markedly improved. Together with the revolution in information technology, we have tools at our disposal to improve the health of our patients that could never have been imagined 100 years ago. And it is hard to imagine what will be available to you, our newest physicians sitting in the audience. As graduates of the University of Rochester School of Medicine and Dentistry, you have been trained at an institution whose fundamental principles should position you best to be the leaders of the transformation to help shape a new and better healthcare system. What are these principles? It starts with the university motto, Meliora, ever better. To me, Meliora represents an unwillingness to accept the status quo and a desire to always improve, to always identify new ways to do things. This is the heart and the soul of the University of Rochester. Reflecting Meliora, our medical center has undertaken an ambitious journey to be a force for equity in healthcare. The smoldering impacts of racism caught fire over the past year as COVID-19 shined a harsh light on long-standing health disparities, and our nation witnessed horrific examples of violence against people of color. Racism is indeed a public health crisis, and combating this must be an essential part of improving the healthcare system. That is a transformation that we must talk about and must handle quickly. At the University of Rochester Medical Center, we have developed a 5-year equity and anti-racism action plan that contains measurable goals for increasing diversity and inclusion internally, while expanding access to care and reducing health disparities in the communities we serve. I join Dr. Adrian Morgan, our Senior Associate Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, in expressing thanks to the many medical students and residents who participated in the development of this plan. Health equity is a natural extension of the biopsychosocial model developed here more than a half a century ago by Dr. George Engel and Dr. John Romano. This model views the patient as more than a disease. It teaches that physicians need to understand the social, economic, and psychological makeup of their patients in order to maximize the chances that they will be successfully treated. We are proud of our graduates and proud that we have given you the foundation to make a difference in how healthcare is delivered in the 21st century. As you move forward in your careers, you will have the satisfaction of shaping how we deliver healthcare and of having played a central role in translating the biopsychosocial model to something ever better. I congratulate you again on your current success and look forward to seeing your future achievements. When I look at our graduates, I know we and the country and the world are in great hands. Thank you. I am pleased to introduce Michelle Prong, who was chosen by the class of 2021 as their student speaker. Originally from the Rochester area, Michelle received her undergraduate degree from Stanford University, where she majored in human biology. She matriculated to the medical school after completing her Master's of Public Health degree at Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University. Next month, she will join the Combined Medicine and Pediatrics residency program here at the University of Rochester Medical Center. Join me in welcoming Michelle Prong.
take my mask off. Thanks very much, Dr. Tubman. Welcome, everyone, to Commencement 2021. First, I want to thank my classmates for the chance to share some thoughts as we prepare to leave medical school to courageously seek new challenges and adventures. It's been a real privilege to be on this wild ride with all of you for the past few years. And to those of you listening from home, thank you so much for joining us on our very special day. For the next few moments, I invite you to join me in a reflection on my time as a softball player and softball coach before I became a medical student, cancer patient, and in a few moments, physician. In the late winter of 2016, I was halfway through my first year of coaching varsity softball at Lehigh University, an institution in eastern Pennsylvania and home to a Division I athletic department. The practices of January and early February, just before starting to play games, were the most exhausting of the year. The short days and blustery winter weather sentenced our daily practices to be indoors at Roush Fieldhouse, where ground balls bounced off the indoor track surface like pinballs off a spring-loaded bumper, and fly balls occasionally lodged themselves in the insulation lining the rafters. Warmer weather and daylight savings time couldn't come fast enough. To keep morale up during this grueling stretch, Fran, our head coach, organized Friday morning team time. He brought everyone coffee and bagels, and we, coaches and athletes alike, gathered to enjoy each other's company and talk about life in softball. At one team time session, Fran asked us to reflect on our personal and performance identities. He passed out a list of 20 performance skills and asked each person to choose 5 skills from that list that most resonated with them. For my performance skills, I chose hardworking, positive, accountable, resilient, and curious. Each person then chose 5 moral skills from a different list. I chose honest, respectful, loyal, humble, and caring. Fran then asked us, what's the difference between these 2 sets of skills? The performance skills dictate what you do in the game of softball. The moral skills dictate who you are as a human being. This was the first time I remember somebody making the observation that what I did, softball, was not the same thing as who I was, a human being who strove to be honest, respectful, loyal, humble, and caring. This was also the first time someone suggested that different pieces of myself show up in different contexts, but my basic moral fabric came with me wherever I went and impacted everything I did. Indeed, developing a sense of personal identity as distinct from the identities of athlete, coach, medical student, or patient has certainly been an ongoing process. I imagine each of you has similarly put a great deal of work into crafting your personal identity as elemental to, but distinct from the other identities you carry. I also imagine you've put a great deal of work into learning how to bring your personal identity with you to your other identities. As friends, children, parents, students, writers, activists, runners, photographers, and even jugglers. Very soon, we will share the new identity of physician, an identity that we have worked for years to earn, and an identity to which each of us will, again, learn to bring and share our unique sets of performance and moral skills. But physician is likely to be just one of the several new identities we will have in the coming years. Perhaps some of us will have the good fortune to find new identities like professor, mentor, teacher, or partner. Inevitably, some of us will also bear the burden of unwelcome identities, like that of patient or sorrower. For better or for worse, it will be up to each of us to figure out how to carry each new identity and how that fits in with the others we already carry. Last year, I was challenged to do exactly this for an unexpected and wholly unwelcome identity. During my first week on my internal medicine clerkship, my preceptor and I walked to the emergency department to see a healthy, active young man with a neck bump. As we walked, we talked about the pieces of the history and physical exam that would be essential for focusing our differential diagnosis. The moment we arrived at the patient's room, I knew where this visit was going. He had Hodgkin lymphoma, the same illness that found me and gave me the identity of cancer patient and now survivor just months earlier. A couple weeks after meeting this patient in the hospital, I had the opportunity to observe his outpatient follow-up appointment after he was discharged home. On the day of the appointment, I walked into the cancer center lobby from the main hospital. I instinctively flashed my medical student ID badge at the COVID-19 screening station in the lobby, identifying myself as healthy, as a healer. At the very same time, I was carrying with me my Wilmot Cancer Center patient ID card, complete with my name, medical record number, and birth date in my wallet. I had flashed my patient ID card many times on the way into the radiation oncology suite, just one floor down from the lobby, identifying myself as sick, as one in need of healing. When I walked into the exam room, the patient immediately recognized me and remembered our conversations about being Hodgkin's patients, so he gave me a warm hello. The oncologist and the patient then exchanged pleasantries before reviewing scans and discussing treatment options, including the possibility of enrolling in a clinical trial. After much discussion, the patient turned to me, the fly-on-the-wall medical student, and said, "Do you think I should do it?" At that moment, I realized this identity that had elbowed its way into my life without warning, that I had cursed for months, had suddenly become a welcome one. What started out as my living nightmare had become helpful to someone else because I'd had the courage to show that part of myself to him. We are all figuratively, and some of us quite literally, carrying around passports conferring our various identities all the time. Most of the time, this comes naturally. But every so often, it takes some courage to make space for new ones. If you're anything like me, today has stirred up an emotional mixture of anxiety, excitement, and wonder about learning how the weighty new identity of physician fits into the wallet full of others. I'll conclude by sharing 4 parting wishes with everyone. First, I wish for all of us to celebrate becoming physicians, and I am grateful that we get to do so together today. We have each overcome countless unique obstacles to get here, and we will be better because of them. Second, I wish for each of us to craft a space for this identity amongst the others we carry, each of which makes us irreplaceable, without allowing it to become the preeminent identity from which we derive meaning. Being a physician will be a huge piece, but still just one piece, of who we are as individuals. And our careers will be much richer if we bring our whole selves, all identities included, to work for our patients, teams, learners, and colleagues. Third, I wish for each of us to embrace new identities and courage and be willing to learn from them, regardless of whether we intentionally seek them out or whether they impose themselves on us. Learning to carry new identities will require us to step out of our comfort zones and into our courage zones. I wish for everyone to stay brave. And finally, I wish for each of us to hold fast to our personal identities, our unique sets of moral skills that we have each thoughtfully cultivated, and be bold enough to carry them with us in everything we do. Thanks again for the chance to speak to all of you and for making medical school one of the most rewarding experiences of my life, along with playing and coaching softball, of course. All my very best and most sincere congratulations, 2021. You're gonna make me cry. It's now my honor to introduce the class of 2021 faculty speaker, Dr. Adrienne Morgan. Dr. Morgan is the university's Senior Associate Dean for Equity and Inclusion, and has tirelessly worked to make the learning environment in the medical school and beyond the best it can possibly be. Dr. Morgan, it is our absolute pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you, President Mangelsdorf, Dr. Taubman, families watching online, members of the platform party. It is my honor to be able to speak with you today, and I'm so excited that you chose to have me make remarks today. So the great Maya Angelou said, "Do the best you can until you know better. But then when you know better, do better." After a year that has challenged what we know and believe about so many things, we can all agree that this is a moment for us to do better, and it's now. Graduation day is a time to look to the future and consider all that you will accomplish, but it's also a time to acknowledge what you have already accomplished. And as a graduate of the University of Rochester Medical School, you have done the best you can, and now you know better. You've heard the word meliora many times today. It's the university's motto, but you've lived it. Don't talk about it, you've been about it, and you have. For instance, you've sustained the medical student-run free clinics, and you've inspired the movement towards racial justice on campus that will leave it ever better. And you've been flexible, you've been agile, and you've been able to set a new course during unprecedented challenges. You are ever better. We know that throughout history, we haven't always done better. In the early 1990s, eugenics was common and accepted. Black, Puerto Rican, and Native American people underwent government-funded sterilization. We all know about the Tuskegee study and its deception and ethical abuses. And even today, there remain challenges. So we look to you, graduates, to keep us honest, to keep us accountable. It was like people like you who asked, why are we doing this, who ended up changing the course of history. As practitioners of medicine, you have an opportunity to bring light to our history and to help us bring about the equity and inclusivity we need today. So, why do better? First, as a graduate of the University of Rochester, you will not only be a practitioner of medicine, you will be a leader who understands that it's not just business or medicine as usual. What we know about medicine is changing, how its knowledge is applied is changing, and this change offers us an opportunity to learn more about humanity than ever before. As an example, many of you have decided to reject the practice of race-based medicine, and you're treating patients as individuals and having more compassion for them. Second, you get to be the generation that rewrites history through fresh ink, fresh eyes, and fresh perspective. You will have the privilege of examining the world through a different lens, a biopsychosocial lens that places a priority on being inclusive and providing better care for all. Now, no one in this room is a stranger to the importance of definitions. Think of the word anti-racist. Now, that word has gotten a lot of press this last year. What does it really mean to be an anti-racist? You've certainly heard people say, I'm not a racist, but yet it goes deeper than that. Let me explain. So author and scholar Ibram Kendi's definition of what it means to be an anti-racist calls for us to think nothing is behaviorally wrong, inferior, or superior with any other racial groups. Let me just repeat that. Think nothing is behaviorally wrong, inferior, or superior with any of the racial groups. He goes on to say, to be an anti-racist is to deracialize behavior. Behavior is something humans do, not races do. So the word anti-racism is so important that we put it in the title of the Medical Center's 5-year plan to build, recruit, nurture, exemplify, and engage in the work of being anti-racist. It's called the Equity and Anti-Racism Action Plan. Your voice is in that plan. It was your activism that set it into motion. As alumni, we encourage continued momentum and for you to keep us accountable. On this graduation day, we honor you. You guys have earned it. Tomorrow, you will honor others through your work. It's a privilege that comes with great responsibility. And a colleague of mine, Dr. Flavia Nobe, is known for sharing her rules to live by on graduation day. I was so inspired by her that I developed my own rules and hope that you will consider these to be part of the new oath to uphold the value of truly inclusive healthcare, to be an anti-racist in your medical career. So first, don't run from tension and discomfort. That's really where the learning and change happens. We're so conditioned to be pain averse, but lean into that pain because that's where you grow and that's where you will make a difference. I was raised during the end of the Jim Crow era, and so I know what it's like to be forced to use the colored bathroom. My dad was in the military and we lived in the South. And I remember asking him why there were colored-only bathrooms and the pain on my parents' face as they said to me, that's just the way it is. Now, don't get me wrong, my parents were not complacent about the racism they endured. And as a child, I did not realize that my parents were working hard to ensure that my 3 sisters and I, along with a whole host of other children, would have a better chance and better opportunities. They did better. Like my parents, I've made it my business to walk up to discomfort and challenge it. I don't ever want to have to tell my grandchildren, that's just the way it is, and I don't ever want you to have to tell your children the same thing. We cannot be complacent. It's not enough to say we want change. We need action. Second, recognize your privilege and power as doctors. You will ascend to new heights in your career, you'll achieve promotions and enjoy praise, but please don't forget to use your power, your influence to help others. The shadow of your influence will extend to places you may not even foresee. At age 53, I went back to school and earned my PhD, and without the help and support of many of the people on this stage, I may not have made it. So don't be afraid to take a risk. Think back to that person who sparked an interest in medicine. Do you remember that moment? Why was it that that person was so inspiring? There's a good chance for them medicine wasn't just business as usual. And I've had the privilege of reading the personal statements of many medical school applicants as part of the admissions committee. They described the moment where it clicked for them. Medicine wasn't just their profession, it was their calling. It takes a very special person to do the work that you will do. And there will come a day when an aspiring doctor will look to you to be inspired. And finally, the last part of my new oath, meet your patients on their own level. Be the doctor who honors the lived experiences of their patients, whether they're transitioning or realizing their sexual and gender expression. Develop a sense of cultural awareness for your Black, Latinx, Asian, and Native American patients. You have within you to be the potential to be a leader in this next evolution or revolution. There is systemic racism that permeates our society. Healthcare can be that shining light that exposes it and brings around that equity and inclusivity that we need. When you leave here today and take off your cap and gown, promise yourself, promise each other, and most importantly, promise your patients that you will be an anti-racist. Knowing what you know now, you will do better. It will be inconvenient, but you will find a way and make it part of everything that you do. In 1960, Wilma Rudolph, a great African-American athlete, became the first American woman to win 3 gold medals in track and field at the same Olympic Games. It was incredible considering she had polio and scarlet fever as a child and was told by her doctor she'd never walk again. She said, "Never underestimate the power of dreams and the influence of the human spirit. We are all the same in this notion. The potential for greatness lives within each of us, and it lives within each of you. And you will make your mark on history, and we will all be ever better for it." Congratulations, class of 2021. I'm so proud of you. Thank you.
It's time. Will the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Medicine please rise? As has been done for centuries, those who have chosen to commit their lives to the practice of medicine take an oath. I now ask that the Doctors of Medicine of the class of 2021 take that oath. All physicians in attendance are invited to stand and recite the oath with the graduating class, which is found on the back of the program. Please recite with me very loudly. I solemnly pledge myself to consecrate my life to the service of humanity. I will lead my life and practice my profession with conscience and dignity in uprightness and honor. I will devote myself to the care and benefit of the sick and will abstain from all voluntary acts of mischief and corruption. I will maintain the health and well-being of my patients as my first consideration. I will use all my ability and best judgment on their behalf. Whatever I see or hear which ought not to be spoken of, I will not divulge. I will not permit considerations of religion, nationality, race, politics, or social standing to affect my duty to my patients. To my colleagues in the profession, I will be just and generous. I will maintain respect for human life and dignity and will use my medical knowledge only for the benefit of humanity. I make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honor. Please be seated.
President Mangelsdorf, on behalf of the faculty of the School of Medicine and Dentistry, I am privileged to present these dedicated candidates for the degree Doctor of Medicine.
This is a different kind of graduation ceremony, isn't it? The University of Rochester, upon the recommendation of the faculty of the School of Medicine and Dentistry, admits each of you to the degree of Doctor of Medicine, confers upon you all of the rights, privileges, and responsibilities of that degree, and congratulates you as you commence your careers in a changing world, providing care for the health and welfare of society and its members.
For the degree Doctor of Medicine. Michaela Berry. Yeah, it's time to get really loud. Jennifer Battaglia. Fatima Bawani. Michelle Alexandra Benassi. David Burke Bittner. Mary Dean Buswell. Jihan Satane Chilean. Thais Calderon. Jessica Chow. Lyndon Bart Chumbley. Deanna Marie Katsalas. Catherine Ray Crofton. Matthew Park Custer. Totadri Diamal. Dowling Alberto Dionisio Santos. Scott Richard Ectornott. Margaret Lillian Fennell. Scott Friedland. Celia S. Fung. Joshua Thomas Geiger. Alec Thomas Girton. Jennifer M. Goodbow. Julia Russell Gomez. Susan Elizabeth Greenman. Miriam Haxton. Ricky Hong. Daniel Drummond Homeyer. Mahima Iyengar. Catherine Ruth Gwendolyn J. Thomas Wade Johnson. Trent Andrew Johnson. Sean Paul Jones. Daniel S. Kong. Shiva Kumar Kathari. David R. Lawton. Junhoo Lee. Allison Lee. Michelle Yixing Liu. Gerald Lundgren. Narula Maksudi. Haley Jane Martin. Eric Joseph Matthews. Nicholas Maxwell. Keith McCutcheon. Kevin Connor McGann. Varun Mehta. Hannah Frances Mahalko. Sage Ann McCamey. Renee J. Miller. Claire Mary Olivia Motel. Havisha Munjal. Shay Allison Nagel. Chance Gunnar Nahara. Tiana Marie Negron. Grace Ian Ang. Youngbao Ni. Randall Scott Porter. Stephen Powell. Michelle Lee Prong. Neil Kamal Reyna. Fritzlane Cersei Roche. Julia L. Rohde. Rebecca Francie Roiger. Armand Angelo Sebastian. Reed Campbell Enveen Shaw. Michelle Lauren Shellard. Connor J. Schultes. Andrew Smith. Caitlin Ann Stetniks. David Ainsfield Tay. Sydney Janae Turner. Afzal Rayan Ula. Jep Vu. Victor L. Wong. John Lonnie Wilson. Angela Kate Winbush. Corey Tyler Worth. Daniel Timothy Wood. Emily K. Wu. Shanna Shea Young. Dennis A. Zambrano. Yui Zhao.
Will the doctors of medicine please rise to be recognized by the audience? Many students have distinguished themselves by exceptional academic performance. You can find the names of those who receive awards on the medical education website, and we'd like now to acknowledge their hard work. Again, another round of applause. On behalf of all of us in the University of Rochester community, congratulations to the class of 2021 on your medical school graduation. Now we request that you please rise for our recessional march and remain in your places until the academic procession has left the theater. Please follow your faculty marshals to an exit and have a wonderful graduation.